Hello, I am Jaime Elizondo from Real World Ranching. Today, I'm going to talk about total grazing and adapted genetic selection guidelines and how they mesh together and how you can use parts of it, but it's best to use them both. When we start to implement the process of total grazing in your land, you may need, for better results, to use adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines. Then, what should we do? Only total grazing, or at the same time implement adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines? Well, the good news is that this doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, I want you to consider how these two big subjects impact or can impact your cattle business. You will come out of this podcast with a decision. Will you implement total grazing and use adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines? Or will you only do total grazing or maybe a little of both? I'm going to say up front, to achieve the best results in our ranches and farms, it is important to increase our grass production using low-cost biological methods. Increase our harvest efficiency to get more cow days per grazing with cattle that are efficient converting your grass to saleable products. There it is. I said it. I firmly believe that these two big factors or subjects, total grazing and adapted genetics correct selection guidelines, can help you much more if implemented together in your business. I have seen this in different environments in my clients' ranches and farms. Now, each one implements the program at his own pace or speed. This is very important, as the most important environment to consider is the one between the two ears of the owner. I have seen ranches and farms where they gradually start the total grazing process and achieve good results from the day one. Like other things in life, success is higher when it's totally implemented, but we start as we can. With this, I mean we can start getting good results when we start to implement in stages. The same happens with the genetic selection, where if we start to correctly select our bulls, we will get improvement from the very first calf born out of those bulls. Improvement and progress can be observed and monitored. Today, we're going to talk about how total grazing helps you and your land. A few examples will be given of what cattlemen have achieved with total grazing and adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines. After this, I want you to identify what can help you best in your own business. At the end of this episode, you will have a clear idea of the structure you need in terms of implementing a business that is constantly improving. We don't need much to research. We don't need to research much to know that doing total grazing needs a better animal type in respect to genetics and, most importantly, selection guidelines used to select your bulls and replacements. Anyway, after years of being a successful cattleman, I have seen my students and others structure their ranches in different ways. I will always recommend doing both things at the same time as they complement each other. First, I want to say, total grazing helps you as it allows higher productivity per acre by improving harvest efficiency, humus creation, stocking rate, and profitability without using high-cost inputs and chemicals. We want to be beyond organic. If it's desired, you can do total grazing without changing genetics or selection guidelines, but the results will not be as good due to a higher supplementation cost to obtain high real-life fertility at very high stocking rates when using conventional genetics. I have also seen good results where they do not do total grazing the right way and they rely only in changing genetics and selection guidelines. This can be done in certain environments, but not in all, but it makes management easier and minimizes investment. A word of caution, this will take much longer to improve that land. I always ask my students, what do you have more, time or money? As things can be done with little money if enough time is available, or they can be done faster if enough money is available. Therefore, the speed to achieve a result will depend on your decision. This is what total grazing will allow you to do, or to get. More leaves per square yard, ease of mind knowing and observing that your grass and land is improving every year, a grass reserve as stockpile for the difficult times of the year, and better nutrition for your cattle, green season and non-growing season. And because there is a limit to how much we can improve forest production in a certain time frame, if we only use conventional genetics, there is a limit to the amount of money we can generate. And this ceiling is very real. I'm not saying it's not sustainable, but I want to make this clear. I believe you can achieve a very reasonable goal using only total grazing or using only adapted genetics and selection. What I mean is that when you use both at the same time instead of each one alone, there is no limit to the improvement to your profitability and to your land. Okay, now let's see what can using adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines give you. Cattle that require less care to be productive. Genetics that improve year after year by applying the correct selection guidelines that do not contradict nature. Better productivity per acre, better real-life fertility as determined by genetics, better conversion of grass to sellable products, better harvest efficiency thanks to better nutritional adaptation, and finally, better profitability. Another advantage is the impact that this has on your operation. When you have adapted genetics and well-selected animals, you can start to sell genetics and that multiplies your profitability. When prospective buyers can observe, when visiting your farm or ranch, fat animals with good muscle mass, without supplementation at high stocking rates and with good real fertility, real life fertility, it's more probable that they will want to buy your bulls and heifers. When neighbors and other cattlemen to which you start to sell bulls, semen, heifers, become aware that their offspring is better, the offspring they're getting is better, and how easy they can maintain good body condition, they will want to buy more. And that is how you create a name with prestige. Prestige that many do not have as they have selected their animals for maximum individual performance and not for good inherent body condition and real life fertility. That means that those animals will not do well in the real world when you take the crutches out of under them. And this will give you the advantage of the vast majority of seed stock producers. Now, let's see the ways that total grazing and adapted genetic selection complement each other. In total grazing, we aim for a high harvest efficiency of our grasses, so we can then create more leaf in relation to stems in the regrowth. This is so due to the stem inhibiting the formation of new leaves and because the saliva of the cow inoculates the grazed plant with hormones, vitamins, and other growth factors we don't yet know the names of. But this action allows the regrowth to grow faster, up to 80% faster, and is the main reason I always say, as the cow needs the grass needs the cow. When you implement at the same time total grazing and adapted genetic selection, you ensure that you will obtain the best results without contradicting nature. Now, I had the experience of having conventional cattle selected for maximum production per animal, and it wasn't nice or enjoyable, as those animals required extra care and inputs, plus they had low real-life fertility when the extra care and inputs were taken away. As input cost goes up in price faster than what we produce, the time comes when it is not profitable to maintain that type of animal. Those were some tough years. But once I started to change genetics and selection, I started to improve my cattle and my profitability. Now I want to tell you about some of my students. Ryan Herman farms in the Iowa-Minnesota border. He was doing rotational selective grazing, and after 12 years, he took another soil sample, which he had taken when he started, to see how much the organic matter had gone up. To his surprise, it did not go up and was the same organic matter level as his neighbor who had been doing conventional set stocking. He was displeased with this and started doing total grazing after taking my course. Now he has lowered his winter hay feeding cost by using stockpile forage for longer and has better forages with more diversity. His costs have gone down and he's happier observing how his land is improving. Next step for him is to keep improving his genetics as he started with conventional genetics. He's well under his way. In Washington State, there is Tyler Waddington, who started doing total grazing and adapted genetics, and he's getting faster results in terms of higher stocking rates and better genetics that will keep improving his land and in value. In Chihuahua, there is a ranch, Chihuahua, Mexico, that doubled the stocking rate by the second year of applying both these principles, and their thinking was, if we do this, we can have the same results as if we bought another ranch plus lower costs in management and labor. Now they are reaping the benefits of their efforts. On my family ranch in the hot tropics, they are doing the adapted genetic selection and the total grazing as adapted to that environment. Results are evident with over double the stocking rate and much less problems with animal health. Now that the ranch is full with productive cattle, they will start selecting more stringent, being harder on females. Besides, having cattle with good nutritional adaptation, heat or cold resistance depending on environment, parasite and disease resistance, animals that are docile, highly fertile, reduce problems, and it's easier having a larger number of productive animals in your ranch or farm with good body condition. Isn't that what we want? More animals in good body condition, productive without extra inputs, that are not only more efficient in converting forage into saleable products, but can also help in conditioning grass to produce more and higher quality forage.